got laid. I was like, say, good for you.
No, I did get, yeah.
Good for you. That's how to
Oh
celebrate.
yeah, that is an incredible.
We're on
way to
camera. We're on
celebrate.
camera. We're live.
Quite the celebration.
Cool. Okay.
We tried to
Star
see
Wars
Disclosure Day.
celebration.
I was too tired. I was too confused, and we just left.
Okay. Hold on. Hello and welcome to this. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Star Wars Generations podcast. Today we have your host, Matthew, Reverend Matthew, possessor of a master's degree. We have registered nurse, Aaron, and we have some guy named Alex, who's also awesome. And no, when we do that, and we have Pulitzer Prize winning Alex. So we are just an awesome all-around group of people, but Alex likes Anakin, so I've got to give him shit from time to time. We are here talking about the Onderan Arc. If you have watched the Clone Wars, you know exactly what we're talking about. If you haven't, did you ever wonder why Saw Gerrera is the way he is? Like, Forrest Whitaker is an awesome actor, but he was one of the first, I think he was the first major character who appeared first in animated Star Wars and then became a live-action character played by someone. In Rogue One, of course, and then later in other projects, and has now showed up in books and in video games and just all over the place as the, well, we think we're doing our, the Rebel Alliance the good way, Saw is off doing it the wrong way. Is the perspective that the characters have, but we in the audience have often shifted on it. So let's go back in time. Let's find out how Saw Gerrera became Saw Gerrera. Let's talk about what happened on Onderan. Folks, what do we think of this arc? Give overall general ideas, and I'll read some spoilers about what exactly is happening.
These were some of my favorite episodes when they first came out. I loved seeing a different planet. I was like, I'm sorry, two bad bitches, Saw and Steela, fine as hell. Two bad bitches as siblings. I love it.
I was gonna say there are siblings, so
yeah, no, they're not like together, but like no, like the gene pool was good.
Yeah.
I loved having like Lux come back for a little bit and seeing his character fleshed out into more than just like an awkward kind of like possibility for Ahsoka. Like seeing him really put in the effort for his countrymen or whatever, I feel like I liked how that's where they took that direction of that character rather than just being like, oh, and after the Mandalorian arc, he just kind of like disappeared into nothingness. Yeah. So I really liked these episodes. I mean, now that I've seen them so many times, they're not like mind-blowing or anything, but there's some really good emotional beats and some really cool like creatures we get to see. So I always enjoy these episodes.
Yeah. Alex, what about you?
Yeah, I thought they explored a lot of fun things in Star Wars we hadn't really seen, like the Anakin and Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, the Jedi, taking on this kind of like shadow mentor role to kind of help a rebellion. It was really fun to see what the tactics they would use. It was fun to see, Saw and Steela really hashed out, and see like how the Separatists kind of I enjoyed seeing how the Separatists in the background were kind of pulling the strings and how Dooku was pulling the strings and like what he really wanted out of the planet. It was just really interesting from a political standpoint for me, but also like in the middle of all of that, there's just like a love triangle and everyone has a crush on everybody else. And we get a cameo appearance by the greatest character in all of the Clone Wars, Hondo Ohnaka, at the end of the arc. Just very like all over the place, really encapsulates a lot of really fun things that makes the arc really memorable.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think it it raises what is generally my favorite question across all of the kind of media I talk about: what is the right way to fight evil? And to what extent do the ends justify the means, and to what extent do you cut corners, and how do people become the kind of people they become, and what happens when you are fighting the good fight and trying to do it the right way, if there is a right way, and terrible things happen, and how does that change you? And before we get into the episodes itself, I just want to ask, for me, I saw Rogue One before I really dove into full-on the Clone Wars TV show. So I was introduced to Saw Gerrera, and then I went to see this as kind of backstory. For you guys, had you seen these episodes already? And if so, when you watched Rogue One, did you immediately clock, oh, that's the guy from the Onderan Arc?
Yeah. I mean, I'd seen the Clone Wars episodes, and I noticed it was Saw Gerrera, but I was kind of like, what the fuck happened to him in the last 25 years? Because, like, he used to be a lot more fun and sexy and less scary and tortury.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely placed it, but it definitely felt like there was a lot missing in the character,
Right.
kind of in between.
For me, yes, and then no. Yes, I saw the Clone Wars episodes first because I saw them when they were coming out when I was like a kid, but I did not, for even a second, consider that they were the same person. I was like, that's what?
Yeah. You know, and I think that's really fair. And I think it's really interesting to me that they kind of went back because he's not Hondo Anaka or, you know, someone who was like a series defining villain or antagonist or character. You know, I think like, there's probably like 10 other people I can think of who have a much bigger influence on the Clone Wars and are much more memorable who they could have pulled across. And I think this was the perfect one though, because he does fit so well into that person. You're right. He's a lot more beat up. He's a lot less the sexy suave. To be clear, Aaron, I am assuming that you know. To be clear, Aaron, I'm assuming you're not saying that him having a mechanical leg in any way makes him less sexy. It's just all the other stuff about him. Okay.
It's just the fact that like Saw Gerrera was like in his early 20s and now I'm in my early 20s and now he's like 50 and I'm like, that's no longer my type.
Yeah, that's very
or
fair.
Not my type yet, I guess would be a better way to say it.
Definitely healthy. Definitely the right way to go. So here's what actually happens in these episodes. This is a summary I found, but I think it's pretty accurate. To liberate their planet from the separatist-backed puppet ruler King Rash, a group of Onderan rebels led by Saw and Stila Gerrera, along with former Senator Lux Bonteri, seek help. I think he's actually the son of a senator. Was Lux ever actually a senator? Anyway,
I think he did enter.
Well, he
took his mother's
Senate
seat,
school.
Right? Yeah. Because the Republic cannot openly invade, the Jedi send Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Ahsoka Tano, and Captain Rex. Captain Rex is not hyperlinked. That's disappointing. and Captain Rex to secretly train the insurgents in guerrilla warfare. Ahsoka remains on planet as an advisor, guiding the rebels through city strikes and a campaign to win public support. After the Jedi help secure the rescue of the deposed True King, Count Dooku dispatches massive reinforcements. During the final cinematic battle, the rebels successfully topple the puppet regime, but at a tragic cost. Stila is killed. Her ultimate sacrifice unifies Onderan's people and forces the Separatists to retreat, paving the way for the world to rejoin the Republic. So yeah, I think that's a pretty solid. That gives us an idea.
Enough.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Guerreras. What did we think about kind of the way their characters are portrayed?
I mean, Stila is clearly like, she kind of gave off similar vibes to like to a young Padme of just like super fucking smart, in charge, like knows what she's doing, but maybe a little less sure of like the, should people follow her? Like she has a lot of the right ideas and like knows what to do, but I think that in the beginning she showed, but she's a little unsure and like, can I really take the lead? Because Saw Gerrera is like, I'm clearly the leader. I am the man here, and I should be leading the group. And everyone's like, yeah, but Steela's really like the better tactician and brains, and like people like her more. And so I feel like they kind of play off each other in that interesting way of like, Saw's not like, an idiot. Like he has some good ideas, but he's way more like direct. Let's go fight. Let's kick ass. And to his credit, he sticks with the exact same mantra his entire life. And it gets him in trouble many times. Yeah. But that, is very much a foil to Steela's, much more calm, collected, let's do some sneak attacks, save lives whenever possible. While Saw is like, I'll put my life down whenever needed. Yeah. But Saw is also very protective of Steela and like does not want her to die. Like he's want to die, but does not want Steela to ever die. And obviously, as Matthew just said, he kind of fails at that mission.
I think in some ways she's underconfident and he's overconfident.
Extremely.
And that's kind of like what they're both dealing with. And I think you're right a lot. And I think it's a very intentional play on gender and gender roles and stuff like that in terms of the way that he sees her and the way they see each other. Aaron, what about you? What are your take on these two?
I feel like they're siblings, so it would never happen, but in a perfect world, I think they would be great co-leaders. Like he's the action man. He can inspire the people with like the rah kind of vibes. But when it comes down to like truly understanding and getting people on board who aren't so easily worked up. Like, you need Steela's tactics, you need her knowledge and her brain and her linguistics. Like, she was very much clearly the one who should be leading.
Yeah.
And like you guys mentioned, the gender, but also I think the age difference, I'm pretty sure Saw is meant to be older.
Yeah.
It's very much like, oh, I'm the older brother. Of course I'm going to lead. You know, this is our planet. They're orphans, right? Their parents are gone.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like, they're orphans. You know, I take care of it. Da, da, da. Where like his protectiveness kind of overshadows Steela's abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people start noticing it before he does. We'll say that.
And I think one of the things that they do, and this kind of also addresses a bit of a plot hole that had been there up till now, but also I think is a great metaphor for everything they're talking about. There's a time where Ahsoka's trying to teach them how to take down the droids that have shields. And droidicas, thank you. And what they establish is that basically like the shields prevent things that are coming at a fairly high speed or with a lot of force. And so if you like hurl a grenade at them, the shield's going to block it. But if you kind of slow roll a grenade at them, then the grenade will go right through and will work. And this is something that Steela is able to master a lot faster than Saw is. And I thought that was just such the perfect metaphor of everything their characters represent, in that she's able to kind of say, okay, brute force and action and doing it as hard as I can doesn't work here. I have to be selective. I have to marshal my resources. And that idea, he does eventually get it, but it's much harder for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's also in a dick measuring contest with Lux during that entire thing, because they both like just want to prove that they're the better warrior and also prove that they're better to steal. It was very strange.
It's this weird four-way dynamic. Tell me if this is the accurate way to describe it, because none of it's ever specifically said, but it's all, I think you can figure it out. You've got this weird triangle of Steela, Saw, and Lux, which is most definitely not a love triangle, but is definitely the two men, as you said, having a kind of like, we both want to show her that we are the more badass. And at the same time, you have kind of Lux and Steela in a love triangle. No, I'm sorry. You have Ahsoka and Steela both sort of competing a bit for the affections of Mr. Lux Bonteri. And I think pretty quickly, Ahsoka realizes that Lux and Steela are a thing. And I think like we have like one episode of the 4 where she's giving some jealous looks and uncomfortable. She pretty quickly figures out those two are a thing. And also, I'm a Jedi. I'm not supposed to get into this. But it is definitely interesting because I think they really come to a head in one episode, that you've got these two different, it's like these 4 are just this weird combination of romantic rivalries and sibling rivalries and power rivalries and all these things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I will just note, just in that, something I did like a little detail was that like when Ahsoka was kind of grappling with the fact that like she had a crush on Lux but knew she was a Jedi, and also could tell that like, you know, Steele was into it, like Anakin was like, I get it, Ahsoka, like more than you know, like that little just subtle like, I get it, my young Padawan, and I feel for you. And Obi-Wan's just like, bro, like, not another one.
Yeah. Aaron, specifically for you as a huge Ahsoka lover, what did you think of how she's portrayed in that dynamic?
I think it always made sense. Like, I've talked about this on the show before. Like, growing up, I definitely wanted Ahsoka to have some sort of like a romantic interest, because that's just what a lot of little girls are taught, is like, your favorite girl character finds a boy character and they fall in love, you know, like it's just kind of the way it goes. But growing up more and seeing more about Ahsoka, one, it just doesn't fit into her character.
Yeah.
To like have that kind of trust and reliance on somebody. And 2, I think we see a lot of like parallels between what Anakin could have done with his emotions.
Yeah.
And we see Ahsoka deal with it. Although it's a different situation. It's not like they were like stranded in a romantic mansion for like months or whatever the hell.
Right.
But I like seeing it in that she gives herself the ability to like notice and feel those feelings to an extent, but not ever act on them.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways, I feel like what she does is a pretty close mirror to what Obi-Wan is able to do with Satine. And kind of further emphasizes that what Anakin is doing really is the standout, because she's not a rock. She does still have hormones. She does still have a heart. She does still get, attracted to people and romantically interested, because that you're not going to train that out of people. It's just part of who we are. For many people, obviously, Aero Ace folks, of course, it can be different and either non-existent or just very different. I'm speaking generalities, but not for everybody by any means. But that and so the idea that she has some of those feelings, but as you said, is pretty quickly able to realize, like, no, actually, wait, this is, especially because it's her. Because I think in some ways, Ahsoka's also an incredibly competitive person.
Oh yeah.
And kind of what
massively.
I got wasn't as much even just that she wants Lux. It's that she doesn't want to lose. She doesn't want to be perceived as like Lux wants this other. It's like Lux is supposed to be her little puppy dog that she says, like, okay, that's cute, but no. And I don't mean that sounds like kind of manipulative or controlling. I don't mean that at all. But just that I think it's
I
that,
see
like,
what you're saying.
Yeah, like someone has a crush on you and you're not interested in them, and now they have a crush on someone else. Probably most of you is like, good, they're gonna stop bothering me. And a small part of you is like, oh, they're gonna stop bothering me. And that's just where I kind of think Ahsoka is there.
This is where I relate to her deeply, because like to me, the most attractive thing is somebody else being attracted to me.
Yeah.
I definitely, I feel like it's easy, especially when you're younger, to get caught in the headspace of like, oh, well, I'm getting attention from this person. I like the attention. So then when they stop giving me the attention, I kind of want to seek it back out without really sitting there and being like, do I actually like this person though? Or did I just like the attention? No, I just liked the attention. Why am I? And I feel like she has that kind of like a thought process, but like microdosed.
Right.
Of like, whoa, chill.
Yeah. And to me, it like, clearly I think she's better able to deal with it. But I do think, and here, Alex, I'm going to be kind of defensive of Anakin here. The fact that Obi-Wan doesn't step in, this would have been, it's pretty clear what's happening. It would have been so easy for Obi-Wan to take her aside and say, hey, I just want you to know, I can see that you have some feelings for Lux, and I get it. I had feelings for Satine. Here's how we as Jedi deal with it. Let's acknowledge it. Let's talk about it in the open. But instead, she just talks to Anakin, who's like, yeah, you can get some on the side. It's fine. He doesn't quite say that, but he's definitely like, he's not like cutting it off in the way that I think Obi-Wan would have.
Yeah.
Listen. Anakin is not the right mentor for her in the situation. I'm aware of that.
Yeah. But it's also, to me, what I'm saying is that it's also a reminder that Anakin didn't get the right kind of mentoring either.
Yeah, he did not. I mean, like, I think that, unfortunately, when you go down to the crux of it, billions and billions of lives were lost to the Empire because Obi-Wan couldn't give Anakin the talk properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
When Anakin says, I can't believe, do you think she remembers me? I've been so obsessed with her. He goes, you know what? Let me tell you a story about a woman named Satine. and you know what? Guess what? End of the movie. It doesn't happen. All right. So with all that said, let's now turn to Saw himself. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I want to say one last thing about Ahsoka and then turn to Saw. I also really like that at some point, Obi-Wan and Anakin go away. And they really kind of just leave Ahsoka there to do it herself. And this is not the first time, and Lux has been involved in some of the other times, but I think this is really a nice sign of, at this point, she is still technically a Padawan, but it's kind of like, if you think of like being a Padawan as being like in college, like she's not a freshman anymore. She's like a junior or a senior. They're giving her a lot of her own independent projects now and letting her just kind of run this and walking away. And I think it's a really important sign of her growth, and it's going to matter a lot when we get to the end of the season.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So with that, let's talk about Saw. How do you physically, Forrest Whitaker is an amazing actor, but obviously he looks very different than this character. And I think that's okay. I think Forrest Whitaker plays him well, but obviously the personality is fairly different. How do you see the line being from this Saw to the Saw of Andor, and then to the Saw of Rogue One?
I mean, we even get Saw in, I think, Rebels, and definitely Bad Batch.
Rebels, for sure. He goes on a little excursion with Ezra and Sabine.
Yep,
Yeah.
That's right.
I mean, I think we see, like, Saw's character in this episode arc, he's quite unstable, to say the very least. Like, he's got a lot of energy, he's coming from good places, but it's not like a stable or well thought out place. And the person that for his whole life was giving kind of that stability was Steela. And at the end of these episodes, she dies. And so now Saw has nothing but instability, all his own feelings, and then the rage and the hurt and the revenge seeking nature that he kind of grows into as the Clone Wars ends and as the rebellion starts. And it's like it's like a pit bull off the leash. Like it's just like go crazy. Like
Well, I also think that, like, you know, it's Steela was kind of the only person he would listen to that could kind of hold him back. And without her there, not only did he have, like Aaron said, you know, this ability or this, you know, this constant drive to just kind of be released, but also he had no one telling him no or take a minute or sit down or whatever. Like, he just fully was released into the world and he fed off of that pain, and he like blamed the separatists. He blamed the Republic for not helping them more. And he really was just like, you know what, screw this. I'm going to fight injustice my way. Like all these other institutions have failed me. And you end up getting, you know, the very paranoid, very much, I'm going to do this my way and be a firebrand and fight even among people with the same ideas as me. And that's how you get the Rogue One version of Saw Gerrera.
No, I think that's very true. And one of the things that this show introduces, one of the things that these episodes introduce as an idea that I think is essential when thinking about any kind of rebellion or revolution or anything like that, that hasn't really been talked about too much, is that it's not just that your job is to fight the Empire or the Separatists or whatever it is. It's that your job is to inspire everyone else to do that. And we've had Anakin and Ahsoka talking about that some, but we've never really seen that like being passed down to others. And to me, I think the real tragedy here is that there's a moment where Saw is like, you know what? Steela's right. I'm wrong. We need to be fighting more for the hearts and minds. We need to be going slow and rolling the grenade and not throwing it full force. And then she dies. And I'm going to make a weird analogy, but I think it really fits here. In gambling and in Magic Gathering and stuff like that, we often talk about the danger of results-oriented thinking. And it's the idea of like, all right, let's say there's a chance you're going to take and you have a 90% chance to succeed. That does mean that if you do it 10 times, you're probably going to fail at least once.
Yep.
But if you do it once and fail, hopefully you're able to say, okay, well, that sucked, but still most of the time that's the right idea. But what Saw does, and understandably, because he doesn't have 10 sisters he can do this with, but like what he does is he looks at that one time and goes, oh, okay, so actually it wasn't, not that these are the real numbers, I'm just using that example. He's like, okay, so clearly actually this was 100% a failure. It was always going to be a failure. So all those ideas I'm just going to reject. And I think that's why, and we see that in the Mask of Fear novel, a lot of the shows you guys mentioned, all the way up to Rogue One. He's not battling for the hearts and minds. He's just trying to hurt the Empire. He's just trying to hurt the Separatists. And he doesn't care that what he's doing may or may not be bringing people to the cause.
Yeah.
Sad. Poor Saw. I mean, I feel for him generally. I mean, he kind of his fight for his home back, wants to, I mean, when we saw him in one of the two episodes we saw him in Rebels, he still carries a little hollow picture of Steela that he like drops and Ezra picks up, and Kanan was like, "War leaves scars, some we can't see," and like it's just like this deep. He's been fighting, and you think about it, he dies fighting the Empire. He is fighting this fight since he was a teenager and just never stops, and it's sad.
Yeah.
And it fairly, in my opinion, can drive someone crazy.
And
absolutely.
Yeah. And I think in that way, it's, subtle, and it's not saying like there was an easy choice to be made, but it's one more indictment of the damage that this war is doing and the Jedi being blamed for it. Because you step back and you think the Jedi are like, oh yeah, you two teenagers are the natural leaders of this rebellion. Like, shouldn't they be going like, no, you're teenagers. You shouldn't be in this fight. You should definitely not be leaders. This is way too traumatic for you. But they can't. It's a war. They've got to do what they've got to do. And then when his sister dies, clearly they don't stick around and say, Saw, we're so sorry. We need to like get you some therapy and help you work through your feelings of loss and sadness. and come to a healthier place. No, they're just like, sucks, man. Sorry, but we won. We got to go to the next battle. And like, of course they have to. That's, this is just it's all Palpatine's plan, but it's one more kind of nail in that coffin of this is why Palpatine's plan worked, because it's turning more people against the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sad.
I know. It's a sad arc. We win, but it's such a Pyrrhic victory.
But it's also, I mean, like, at the end, the Jedi decide they're gonna, like, Ahsoka convinces the Jedi again to kind of break their code and intervene anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, I don't know, it's the Jedi's intervention that both allows them to kind of retake Onderan, but also causes the death of Steela, because the very like expensive black market rocket launchers that they bought from Hondo, which I thought was an incredible tie-in, is what ends up, Saw's the one that fires the rocket that blows up a droid ship that then comes careening down and destroys the ground that she's standing on, and that's how she ends up dying.
Mm-hmm.
So he's kind of responsible for her death indirectly. Of course, it was an accident, but like he was so blinded by his rage and just kept firing and firing and firing that this is what happens.
And I watched this episode like a month ago, and then I didn't rewatch it for that because it was still pretty fresh in my memory. But one detail I forget: does Ahsoka try to force grab her as she falls but fails? Or
she has her in the air, about to grab her, and the droid ship that had been knocked down reacts for a second and shoots her in the back. And
right. Okay.
Lux didn't cover her well enough, and then goes and shoots the droid. But at that point, she had dropped Steela.
Yeah. Okay. And it's it's again horribly unfair, but to Saw, I can't rely on anyone else to keep my sister safe.
Correct.
I did. She died. I'm the only one who can keep my people safe.
Even though she's the one that killed her.
Yeah.
Indirectly.
Yeah. It's funny, when these episodes first came out, I knew we were getting, closer to Revenge of the Sith. I knew Ahsoka's not in that movie. I thought she was going to die.
Yeah.
I thought this was going to happen, and it was going to be like when I first watched it, right? I was very worried that Steela was going to end up saved and Ahsoka was going to end up dying.
Yeah.
Because they needed to tie off the character in some way. And this seemed like a really dramatic way to do it.
Yeah.
And I just remember like my heart like pounding out of my chest as she's like holding Steela, and then you see the droid like sit up behind her, or however that exact scene went, and I was just like
I remember thinking that through a lot of season 7 when that came out, because I hadn't watched Rebels, and just having that sense of like, well, she can't live, right? Like, what is going to happen here? So, and I think we're going to talk about that a lot in the next couple seasons. So. All right, well, we wanted to keep this kind of short episode. I have one or two announcements about the program in general to say, but do either of you have any last comments you want to make about these episodes? Aaron, do you have a list of quotes to talk about?
No, not a list. No, I'm good.
Okay.
Only thing I want to just quickly mention was I really did like the I guess it would be a super tactical droid that kind of was running the show on Dooku's behalf and was making all the calls, and the very scared, squeamish, quote unquote king who was like in control of Onderan. It just shows that like throughout the galaxy, like Dooku would just take power hungry people and put them in place of power as puppets, but then would just execute them as soon as things went sideways. Because as soon as like it became a drawn out war, Dooku was like, I have no interest in this, and it just immediately killed him. Just moved on, because it's just another pawn in the great game, and it just, I think that spoke deeply to Dooku and the Emperor's overall plan to just use these people and use these countries and genocides as pawns. And it was cool to see the rebels like have to earn back the trust of the people. And like, when the riot was happening and they like, went forward to save the old king. I mean, there were just so many really smart, cool ways that the Jedi worked in the background that Saw fucked up almost every time. But it was just really interesting to see kind of both sides at work there. But yeah,
it's interesting because I think this season gets a particularly bad rap because I think there was a time at which they thought this was going to be the last season, and then season 6 is a bunch of kind of random episodes, and then season 7 is kind of coming back with a vengeance. And I think this season and season 6 really get a bad rap, but there's a lot of really good episodes in them, and I think this is honestly one of the best arcs in the whole series. All right. Well, quick announcement I just want to make. We love making this show for you. We're also all very busy people. And one thing we've realized is that I think understandably, there's definitely folks who love these, kind of look back at older property stuff. but we get a lot more audience when we're doing the newer things. So what we're going to do is we're going to shift to an every other week release schedule. Instead of putting out one every week, we're going to put out one every other week, just calm things down a bit while we're doing these like look back at older property stuff. And then when new stuff is coming out, we will shift into more of a week by week. If it's a movie, we'll probably do like 2 or 3 primer episodes and like 1 or 2 analysis afterwards it comes out. If it's a show, then kind of like what we just did with Maul, we'll do, 1 or 2 prep episodes and then episode by episode coverage and the 1 or 2 wrap up. So it's going to go a little back and forth. I hope you guys are really enjoying it. If you're angry about that, let us know. Let your friends know. We really just need to get our listener numbers up to be able to justify it. So please, if you're loving it, just let us know. You have to write in, say, hey, we appreciate the content. Let us know. Give us a review. Send us an email. All the information is on the show notes. You'll also find all of it on theethicalpanda.com. Or, of course, you can just leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. So on behalf of myself, Aaron, and Alex, thank you all so much for listening. Nixon 5.
Stay classy, Onderan, and the city of New York.
People of Onderan, the time has come to take back our freedom.
Okay.
Sure.
I didn't have anything good. It was just Steela's quote.
That's fair.